What do you mean? What happens if there's an error with the response? Yeah, I no, I'm saving that for another video. I understand the response is coming in. If there's an error, we're not handling it at all. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. We'll save it for another video. Oh, hi. We're, okay, so all right, we wanted to add a filter option on the actual response data that we're actually getting. So let's add an input field to what we have. This is a previous video, and actually no, yeah, we'll do a quick little review. Try to do a 30-second review of what we actually have on the board, or actually on the screen there. And let's go from there. Let's filter the actual data. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. All right. So what we want to do, let's first take a look and see exactly what we have. And I believe what we see here is, okay. So let's start with, let's go with line number 6. All right, so this was the data that we had in the last actual video. This is data that's actually coming in from placeholder, jsonplaceholder.com. This is the actual response data, or this is not the response data. This is the actual URL where we are actually fetching from, in which we are limiting three different, three elements. Actually, yeah, 3 elements within the actual array. And we do have the small little example of what that data looks like, which is this here. We have on line 6 and 7, and again, we're just trying to keep the review kind of short, but what we have here is the users and the set users function, which is pretty much like a getter and setter, more like a setter function to actually update the user data, in which it is initialized using useState. It is initialized as an empty array. Okay, and we have search here, but I don't think we use search, but we can definitely use search for our input field. And that is going to be initialized to nothing at all. We have a use effect on line 9, which is actually running once when the actual component loads, in which we will call the get users function. The get users function is on line 13, so that is the definition for that, in which we are just summing it up relatively quickly. We are handling a response right here. It is an async await, so that pretty much means that this particular get users function is set to async, and that will allow us to synchronously, semi-synchronously, line for line, await the actual data that is being fetched. And then of course on line 17, it is, okay, we're formatting the actual data here. And once we actually format that data, we are setting the set users to the data that is actually coming in. So that is actually happening up here where we're saying set users. Set users is the empty array, and now users will be the array of objects that comes back from this particular line right here. So that is pretty much it in a nutshell. And then from there, what are we doing? We're taking the user's array of data, the actual array of objects. And in the previous video, I believe we placed it in the actual playlist, but we are mapping over. We did use map in the previous video. If not, you can definitely search through the React series and look for the map feature there, but we can actually highlight. But what we're doing is actually mapping over the user's array of objects. And then for the user's child component, we are passing in that data, and we have the user child component over here. And that is why our actual data on the screen looks like this. So now with that said, and I know that was a short, quick little review of what we actually have, but we're trying to keep these videos kind of short. So let's add an actual form, which will actually just consist of a, what are we gonna have there? An input field. There we go. All right, and then from there, we'll just place it on top. It's not gonna look pretty at all, but we can at least just add that in so we can get some type of user input and then filter the actual data here. So let's take a look. Let's see what that actually looks like. Okay, so there is, okay, and it's definitely wins the Ugly Award of the Year. So let's try to add, what can we do here? Let's get, where's the CSS for that? Here we go. We can use that. We'll close that, and I will let's bring this over here, and then I will actually split it down so we can just kind of take a look at that. And what we'll do is we'll just call it, we'll select it as is. So we'll say the actual input, we'll give it a width of about 390. And okay, all right, that's perfect because the user container was 400, so I just magically came up with that number here. We'll give it a height of 30 pixels. All right, we'll get to the filter. We'll get to the filter. I know CSS is a little ugly. It doesn't get its respect. We need to put some respect on its name, but let's there we go. All right, so the font size will be 30 inside, and we'll give it a little bit of padding. PX. Let's actually take a look and see how that looks. We'll click in here, type in something, no changes, nothing special, but it's super, super huge, so the cameraman's mom can view that properly without her goggles, without her glasses. And then we will go margin. Let's go from the top, PX, 20px from the top, 0 on the right, 0 on the bottom, and 0 on the left. That's perfect. All right, so now let's close that and let's get to the filter. All right, so we can type in here, and so now that we have this actual data, let's do this. We are mapping over users, but we do not want to map over users. We want to map over the actual filtered users. And do we have an on-change? We can use an on-change event. Let's do that. Users, where's the form? Okay, here's the input field. We'll go on change. What we're going to do is for the actual event, we'll make the function directly within. So we'll say set the search to what? Set the search to e.target value. Okay, now what is that going to do? That is going to say we're going to call set search for our use state getter function. And that's going to update search to the actual value that we put in the actual input field. So that's fine. That's perfect. Let's get a little more room over here. And then from there, so we'll have search equaling everything that we actually type. But what are we going to do from there? Let's create. We want to filter through. So let's create a variable. We'll say let filtered users. All right. Filtered users equal. Now this is what we're going to filter on. We're trying to filter on what we're actually typing in. And that's what we're typing in on the input field. So we're going to do, let's say users. We're going to filter users. So here's the user data that we're actually getting in from the request. And we'll use the filter array method. So that's perfect. That will have a callback function in which we'll just give it any name in there, but we'll work with the user information. And then from there, what do we want? Let's filter on the actual name. So the actual first name. So we will go user.name. Okay, because we do have in that array of, do we still have it in the console? Yes, here we go. So we have a name property. So we'll actually filter based on the actual name. Each name that's in our array of objects will be filtered upon. So we're going to say for each username that includes what? Includes the search. What is search? Search is what is actually being entered. Everything that we entered on change, that e.target value is going to be sent and updated into search. So everything within search, and we'll actually make it lowercase as well. We'll turn everything to lowercase so we can search everything in there. So everything that actually includes the search. Yeah, I think that'll do it. We can definitely test that. And well, we're not going to get anything in here as of yet. But we've got to remember we're iterating through users down here. We don't want to iterate through users now. Now, if we were not using the filtered, if we were not doing any filtering on the user information, Yeah, we don't have to use that at all. We want the return value, which is going to be filtered users. And I have filter users. Let's use filtered users. So let's iterate through that on line 29 instead of the original data of users. And so now on every change, we'll update the actual search, and then search will then be included in search for the user.name that includes search, and we can use capital letters or lowercase. So let's see what happens here. Who knows? It'll probably go bananas. So let's test for something. We have an AM. Well, we do have an A in there, so let's test for A. Oh, okay. All right. So this is good. Let me cancel that out and see what we got. There's an A in name or the first element or the first object. There's no A here, so that's why we didn't see that. But there was an A in here. So if I type in A, that's why we only get these two blocks here. Now, if I type in AM, there's no AM in here. Ah, look at that. So that's why we have AM, and that's all we got here is the actual search here. Of Graham. I like that. I like that. So let's cancel that out. Let's do another test. Let's test I. Here we have an I in here. There's an I in there. So let's type in I. Okay, perfect. So we have an I in Irvin, and we have an I in Clementine or Clementine. And then let's type in the N. There's an N in both, but let's go with the NE. Here we go. NE. Perfect. Look at that. Okay. We have an on-change event with some filter. I think that's it. I think that's worth a subscription. All right, just playing. Not really, but I'm actually serious. So, yeah, like and subscribe. That's how you filter the actual data that you're receiving from the actual request. And yeah, I think we mentioned we're not handling any errors on the actual response, but let's save it for another video. Okay, we'll take small wins today. Subscribe, like, comment if you have any questions in the comment section, and that's it for today. All right, stack out.